All right, welcome kings and queens. Today we are talking the Real Housewives of New Jersey. What do y'all think about this episode? This was like the clunkiest episode ever to me. It was all over the place, from my opinion. When I think about the way I line out my content, I could not follow the flow. The camera jumped from house to house, scene to scene, person to person, which tells me typically when I look at these shows, especially from Bravo tends to do a really good job with production. They must have really had a hell of a time that day with the cast. People must have come at different times. I don't really know, but this just felt like the weirdest episode. What are your thoughts? So they start this episode off with everybody waking up from the night before, and they were, discussing how much fun they had the night before. They pan into Melissa's home. The conversation in Melissa's home is focused on Jen and her relationship with Bill. Of course, gossiping ass Jackie got that started off. So they take a couple of shots, each couple, that's their Melissa's home. Mostly the women. They take a couple of shots at Bill and Jennifer. And I think it was Margaret. How low will you go, Margaret? Because they even insinuated that Bill and Jen have to get wasted just to be around each other. As if Joe Gorga hasn't been plastered. Right? And White Boy wasted before. So then they go to Jennifer's home, Jen and Bill's home, their beach house. And I really like the vibe. Their vibe in their home was completely different from the vibe in Melissa's home. Everybody seemed to be a little bit more personable as they came down for breakfast. Jennifer really put a personable touch into cooking and providing like a really scrumptious meal for her guests. All of that food looked good, honey. Danielle, as they start to eat, Danielle tells the group, Danielle is a new girl with the blonde hair. She tells the group that Melissa delivered bad news to her the night before. And then the camera starts to pan through the different homes and everybody's having conversations now. They've shifted from Bill and Jen to Danielle and her relationship with her brother. And how they think there absolutely has to be more to her story. My question is, and if there is, who cares? Why is it so important for you all to get dirt on everybody else? Who cares? Listen, Bravo. Is this all we got for the Real Housewives of New Jersey? Is this all you have? Because are you telling me that no one seems to have a storyline outside of Teresa? And is everybody's storyline attached to Teresa? With the exception of Dolores. Dolores has her own storyline. Teresa has her own storyline. Everybody else is horribly failing. Melissa Gorga continues to chap my hide. Putting on this full-on production. Now it's how she's offended that her mother's name was brought up. And that mothers and children are off limits. Listen. Girl, you talked about Teresa's parents the entire time. Last year, the year before. So if parents and children are offline, then keep Gia's and her sister's names out of your mouths. As I'm thinking about the dynamics at Melissa's home, there was not a positive moment. And if so, then the camera crew failed us. Because they sat there the entire time and really picked people apart. That was the gist of that conversation. Okay. They talked about Louis and how he made a gesture to invite Melissa's mother to the wedding. Even that got shot down. Even that was shot down. Okay. They felt like it was disingenuous. And at that point I said, you know what? It really doesn't matter what Teresa and Louis do from here on out. I don't think anything will be good enough. I really don't. For those of you who are just tuned in, or if you're new to the channel, welcome to the palace. I am Queen Sheba. I cover a variety of hot topics specific to reality television, but most importantly, I hone in on the psychological and the behavioral traits of the Black experience. So at this point, I'm like, Joe and Melissa are really dragging this thing out. Like they are fighting for their job. And to be honest with you, Joe and Melissa, baby, this ain't it. Because you're really going out pretty sad. It's giving pathetic and desperate at this moment. But thank you to the producer that saved the day. A producer, I guess she's getting tired like we are. And she gets to the heart of the matter and she goes in for the kill. And she asks Joe Gorga straight up, did something happen between you and Louis? And he's forced to give us the truth. He says yes, but he doesn't give us any details. So they shift to Teresa in her confessional. They ask her, did something happen between Louis and your brother? She shifts for a second. You can see her wheels turning. And she says, you know what? I've spent a great majority of these years protecting my brother. I'm not going to do it anymore. And it's in that moment that we learned Joe Gorga attempted to scam Louis out of almost $250,000. Louis gave Joe Gorga a hefty amount of money to fund a project. By the time Teresa got wind of it, Joe Gorga was attempting to muscle his way and bully Louis into giving him 50% of the profits. Make it make sense. Joe Gorga, this isn't the first time that we've heard about you scamming people and allegedly being a crook. There has been very detailed accounts of you scamming people out of their money, and it looks like you're up to your old tricks. So it seems like Joe Gorga received Louis's money and wanted full control over driving the strategy of the project, and he expected a 50% return after putting not one penny in. Do you hear me? Imagine going into business with someone. They don't have any money to put up on the line. They want to drive the entire strategy. And they look you in your face and tell you, and I want 50% profit. And no, I'm not going to put anything in. Child, please. Child, please. Teresa wasn't having it. She was not having any of it. By the time she caught wind of it, she pulled the plug. Good job, Teresa. Protect your family, protect your home. So Louis had to basically, that's money lost. But you know what? I get it. Teresa's looking at this thing as, I'd rather lose that right now than to get into business with her brother. And you know why I think Teresa also pulled the plug? I think Teresa knows how her brother is and that he's a scammer. He's an alleged scammer. And I think the fact that Teresa has done time over fraudulent activity and scamming people out of their money that her ex-husband did, she's not willing to put her name on the line, nor allow Louis to put his name on the line when it comes to her brother. Good job for you, Teresa. Teresa has really grown, you guys. I could not stand this lady, but I really like where she's going. And if you don't believe in therapy, let Teresa be a personal testament that partnering with a good therapist, a good behavioral health provider, can do wonders. He thought that he was going to take advantage of Louis, and now he's mad because, according to him, Louis gave him lip over the phone. Like, who does this man think he is? But Melissa chimes in and she accuses of Teresa of basically being stingy and not wanting to share her money. Girl, stop. You mean to tell me your successful husband doesn't have money to put up to front his own business? And you expect to ride off the coattail of your sister-in-law as you've done for the past 12 years? Y'all ready for this? Are y'all ready for this? Then she starts to cry. Poor Melissa. Melissa starts to cry because this business venture, according to her, was Joe's last hope of having a new financial beginning. It was supposed to be a fresh start for him. Wow. Really? Another man's money, huh? Was supposed to be a fresh start for you and your family. Okay. So Joe Gorga, you mean to tell me your sister, who you've referred to as scum in the past, was your last hope to recoup your financial future? And now that she's backed out of it, you're back to where you started? Is that what's going on? It sounds like y'all were trying to use Teresa and Louie, well, probably Louie more, to fund your lifestyle. You know, as I start to think about this, I think Bravo is tired of both Melissa and Joe because they put a gag order on the cast. And I really feel like it was directly aimed at Joe Gorga and Melissa. Bravo's like, You're not going to utilize your podcast to talk about anything on this show that we work hard to do so that you can generate a profit. There was so much going on in this episode. I just cannot give you commentary on everything. Otherwise, I'm going to be all over the place. So they go to Rachel Fuda's home, who's hosting a brunch. And Rachel's husband must earn a decent living because those porterhouse steaks are not cheap and they look so yummy. Oh my gosh. Immediately, Jackie starts gossiping about Jennifer and told all of her business to the entire group. Not cool, Jackie. Not cool at all. At this point, after listening to Jackie, listening to Melissa, listening to everyone else, at this point, as this scene started to roll on and on and on, I had become convinced that both Melissa and Joe Gorga are jealous of the lifestyle that Teresa has access to. And I believe that Louie is just collateral damage. I don't think it matters that it's him. It doesn't matter who it could have been. The fact that they don't have her money, her platform, her visibility, they're jealous. Listen, let me get back to these steaks. Oh my God, did you see those steaks? Y'all, they were I like steak. I just kept, listen, I'm a foodie. I got to talk about those steaks. They look so freaking good. All right. So Melissa continues to talk about Teresa's wedding and how her mother should have been invited, all of this and all of that. Listen, people, stop talking about her wedding. You're not invited. Move on. Get over it. Melissa, she doesn't have to invite your mother. That's your mother, not her mother. Your mother didn't do anything for her while she was in prison that I can recall. Did she write her? Did she send her a care package? Did she go to the home and cook food for the girls? Maybe I'm missing something. Dolores. Before I talk about this, Jackie was like a gnat, like a fly in this scene. Jackie was just being so messy, almost to the point she could not control herself. And Dolores shut Jackie down about Frank, as she should have. Good job, Dolores. Dolores says, I'm not going there. We're not talking about that. Good job. Well, Teresa's having a conversation with the other Jen about her history with Melissa's family. And Jackie, once again, gets herself involved where she should not be. She's ranting. She's becoming all theatrical about Melissa being a really good friend of hers and how she really doesn't appreciate Teresa hurting Melissa's feelings. Yeah, it's a bit much for me, Jackie. I kind of feel like Jackie's trying to reclaim her spot back on the show. And that's fine, but find another way to do it. At this point, Louie pulls Melissa to the side. Now, Louis, let me give you a little bit of advice. You're doing too much. First of all, that's a married woman. You don't need to be holding her hand. You need to really learn boundaries. If you can't sit and talk without touching folks, Maybe you don't need to have one-on-one conversations. That, I don't blame Melissa. She just kind of looked at you and let you hold her hand for a second and pulled it back. That was a little bit much. Keep your hands to yourself, please. After a while, Teresa heads over to Louis and Melissa as they were talking. Now, here's the thing, Teresa. You went over there with the wrong energy. You were irritated, and you went over there, and she walks over there amped up while Louis is having a discussion with Melissa. And he tries to tell her, hey, you're coming in hot, pipe down. And it was a power struggle in that moment between the two of them. Melissa, in her confessional, takes it to a completely different level. She says that she believes that there's two sides to Louis, and although he tries to be nice, she thinks he's a really angry man. Ma'am, you have to make up your mind. Do you want him to do the right thing or not? And that's what I mean when I say I feel like I feel like Teresa cannot win with Melissa and Joe. She's damned if she does. She's damned if she does not. Now, as I'm starting to listen to Louis talk, Louis, I'm trying to ride with you because I can see the effort that you're putting in. But, sir, you need to chill. Louis, you got to chill. You're starting to show me that you have weirdo tendencies. Like, you say some stuff that should not be said out loud. Why are you bringing up the fact that you wore your father-in-law's pajamas when he's deceased? Do you not have a measure-meter? Do you not have a meter to measure what comes out of your mouth? Sir, that is weird. That's very strange. That's very odd. Teresa calls Joe Gorga out for his girlish behavior. And here's what I mean by that. She says, you're talking a lot with strangers. You're telling my business. You're telling family business. And you tend to overshare. And that's my issue with you. Then he shares with her, well, I'm mad at you. I'm upset with you. And then she shares she's mad. She's upset. Nothing new, y'all. The same shit we've been seeing and hearing for years. Okay? There's nothing new here, folks. But at the end of the day, Teresa made a really good point. Stop oversharing with strangers because you're placing her in a position to have to defend your gossip and how you feel as an emotional man, which is why I think she referred to you as Jennifer did, which is why Jennifer tends to call you a bitch boy. Okay. And Teresa doubled down on it because Joe, you tend to gossip a whole lot. But anywho, Melissa comes over. I feel like they were doing good. They were working their way through it. And Melissa came over. And that's when the tone in the room and everything shifted. It's almost like a switch went off inside of Joe Gorga. And he completely changed. I think Melissa got him amped up. And she turned him quick against his sister. Melissa, in my opinion, she's an igniter. A shit starter. This would have been the perfect opportunity for all of them to decide to squash it. At this point, Teresa decides, you know what? I'm not doing this. I'm leaving. I am not having this conversation. I don't blame Teresa. Because what you're not going to do, Melissa, is sit here as I'm trying to work through this with both of you as a family. You can't come in and start using curse words when I'm on my zen. We're not doing that. So Teresa left. I don't think Melissa wants Joe and Teresa to really get along. So as I wrap up this commentary and just giving you my review and my thoughts on this episode, as the shit continues to hit the fan, number one, I'm tired of it. I'm sorry, Andy. I really don't care at this point how much you favor and tend to like Joe Gorga on the show. He has become a thorn in my side. He sounds like a broken record, and it has become very distasteful to watch him pick on his sister year after year after year. It's very evident that Melissa and Joe Gorga do not have a storyline outside of Teresa. They need to go. There's no way Teresa can have a healthy relationship with them and continue down the positive path that she's attempting to go. She would have to be willing to sabotage her progress and her well-being in order to be reunited with her brother, who refuses to go to therapy to work on his own issues. The jealousy continues to ooze out of both Melissa and Joe's veins. It's absolutely horrifying at this time. Louis, I'm not liking the way that you keep going against Teresa in public. You really need to chill the hell out. I don't like the game that you're trying to play. It pissed me off towards the end. You are not her therapist. You are her husband, which is her helpmate. Don't try to embarrass her and strong arm her in front of everyone. You really need to stop. And you have to stop threatening emotional abandonment. Well, I'm leaving if you don't sit down. No, that's not healthy. And I'm starting to see cracks in your foundation, Louis. Bravo. Melissa and Joe Gorga, get this off the screen. It's detrimental to the show. Next week, they give us a clip. The focus will be on Frank and his inability to move the hell on. Brittany, you need to run. Frank is pulling you into a very unhealthy dynamic. Please do not allow your love for fame to overshadow your common sense.